Adam, welcome to the program. How did you get into theater?
I actually started with 4 years of competitive speech and debate and did interpretations of literature.
Sure.
And so that was kind of where I started acting, and I used to be in a children's choir. And then I went through a time whenever my voice changed, and I thought that I would never be able to do anything vocally again. Mm-hmm. And then 2 years ago, my parents encouraged me. CYT was doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat,
Yes.
which was one of my parents' favorite shows. I had never seen it, but I started listening to the music, really liked it, so I decided to audition and joined CYT and theater in general as Ruben in that show.
Cool. So, talk about this competitive speech now. Do you still do it?
I don't anymore. I stopped whenever I joined Christian Youth Theater.
Right.
I did it. I'm a homeschooler, and so we had a club in our local area, and whenever both of my older brothers graduated and went to college, our club kind of died, and so my final year of that was 2 years ago.
Yeah. So, what do you take from the speech that you take into theater?
One thing that I've gained a lot by having done the speech is in the interps, or interpretations of literature. Right. I'm the only one up there, so I had to play like 5 or 6 characters per show, or per 10-minute scene, and so I have played over 60 characters talking to myself. So I'm pretty good at doing character impressions, voices, all that kind of stuff. And then doing the debate part of it just helped me to think on my feet whenever I'm up in front of an audience and just general stage presence kind of stuff.
So how is it different when you're having to interact with folks on stage?
It is different and it isn't. That whenever I did interps, I was trying to think, okay, how is my other self thinking? Right. And now I just get to actually look at someone and see their facial expressions. Right. It makes it easier, but it also makes it harder because, I can't just... Right. If I start messing up, I can't just continue ad-libbing by myself and do it. I have to count on someone else to be there to help me with it as well. Sure. So.
But I guess the part of debate is very much listening, right? Listening to what, and so the counter, and on stage, again, you're listening, but it's different because the actor may not give you what you expect, and you have to respond to that, not what you may have wanted or whatever, right?
With that, doing the cross-examination part of debate, right? Because I did multiple types of debate. So during the cross-ex debate, whenever you're up there, you are having to come up with the best answer and having to weigh every possibility of what you might be implying with what you're saying. And so it's kind of the same thing in theater where if I say something wrong, partially I have to keep it all, within the context of the show, and I have to think like my character, but... So
do you have a particular acting style that you like?
I don't really know that I would say there's a particular style. I do always try and think like my character, rather than... I mean, a lot of people, can just put on a face and become the character from the outside appearance, but I find it easier to do an entire show if I can make myself think more like my character, or find some way that I can relate my own experience to those of my character.
Okay, so you work inside out as opposed to outside in. Because I know a lot of people work, they like having the clothes, and, the makeup, the whole bit, and that helps to internalize their character. But you prefer to discover the character from inside.
Yes, sir.
Let that come out. Okay, good.
That's my reference. So.
Who's your favorite actor or actress?
I think I would have to say Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart, wow! Name some shows that you like him in.
It's Wonderful Life is spectacular. Of course. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Awesome.
Definitely one of his best.
Taking on the Establishment. Yep.
Yeah, there's a whole lot. I mean, I take things from all kinds of different movies that he's done.
Sure.
Like I can get some of the country character from Man Who Shot Liberty Valance and different stuff like that as well. So
no, it's awesome. In this show, Annie Get Your Gun. Is there any parts of the character that are similar to you or different? How is
Well, it's of the parts that I've played, it's been a lot harder to get into this part, because my character Frank Butler is supposed to be very much a ladies' man, and I'm very much not a ladies' man. So it's been weird because, in the past, one time I played a middle-aged drunk, and it was more natural for me to become a middle-aged drunk than it is for me to become a young man who's a ladies' man. So, so what I did to try and form that character that I could relate to is I did write a backstory for myself and,
sure.
you know, tried to relate it as much as I could to the real guy, but then also tried to relate it to things that I could relate to
sure.
for
Absolutely.
why he became that way. So
yeah. What's your favorite song in this show that you get to do?
I think my favorite song would have to be They Say It's Wonderful. Just because I like the way that the tempos change and stuff as they go back and forth to Danny and Frank sing.
Yeah. When it comes to music, okay, I mean, obviously you're doing And to Get Your Gun, but personally, what kind of music do you like?
All kinds of music that I think of as real music.
Okay, what is real music to you?
To me, I'm not a big fan of anything that's, you know, screamo, rap, heavy metal, stuff like that to me is not as much actual music. So I listen to classical, I listen to country, I listen to, you know, different styles of a little bit of modern stuff, a lot of Christian music.
Sure.
A lot of musical music, obviously.
Of course. Any particular musicals that you like versus don't like? Yeah. Different examples you can give it.
Well, I like a lot of different shows for different reasons.
Okay.
One of my favorite shows, and it's one that I've gotten to do, was Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh, yes. Awesome,
and
yes.
So that's probably one of my favorites. Largely the music and the acting, obviously. It's not a really big dancing show.
Yeah.
If I was wanting to see a dancing show, I'd prefer things like Newsies, where there's spectacular dancing.
Right.
I listen to a whole lot of musical soundtracks, so I've listened to, you know, musicals from the 1930s on my iPod, as well as listening to things like Wicked on my iPod as well, and I just mix it all in and listen to it all the time. So
well, that's excellent. What show would you like to do that you haven't done yet?
I think one that I would like to do eventually would be Phantom of the Opera.
Okay.
And I don't really know how I would fit into any character in that show, just because the Phantom has a different vocal range than I do, but I still think that it would be a pretty fun one to play.
What's probably one of the funnier things that happened on stage that probably wasn't planned?
I had one show whenever I was doing Fiddler on the Roof where our microphones, all of them stopped working except for two handhelds.
Oh, dear.
And I was Tevye, and during Do You Love Me, I was told to take a mic out and hand it to my wife, Golda, and she didn't want the mic, even though I had two in my hand, so I was trying to hand her one. So as she would sing, I was like having to hold the mic out to her to try and get her to be singing into it. But
she didn't want.
She didn't want the mic, so she was like stepping away from the mic, and it was like I was chasing her around with the mic kind of during a very serious scene. And then later in the show, at one of like the saddest, most touching parts in the show, I'm like on stage by myself singing about my daughter, you know, who's leaving, and I'm kind of like disowning her kind of thing. And in the middle of the scene, because my mic wasn't on, I thought I could project to the audience. I was like, okay, I can do this. And so I was projecting, and in the middle of the scene, a friend of mine who was playing a Russian in the show just like walks out onto stage with a mic and hands me the mic and then walks back off. And I'm like, kind of ruined the moment there, but
dude, you ruined the moment.
Yeah, so because the song was called Havala and his character's name was Sasha, ever since I've called that guy Sashala. Yeah.
Oh my. What do you want to major in when you go to college?
It's kind of a weird one for me. Even though I'm in theater, I'm planning to major in civil engineering.
Well, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I was petroleum, and I had a guy that took tap. You know, that's what he was into. At the end of the day, you have to come up with something that pays the bills. And if you make it big, great. You know, more power to you. But chances are really slim. So, if heaven exists, what do you want God to say when you get to the pearly gates?
Well done, good and faithful servant.
And I got a part for you if you're interested. You're interested in Fiddler again? Yeah, we can do that. We can arrange that. Or Wicked, we could do that. Adam, thanks so much for being over here.
Thank you.